Weeds, the bane of every backyard gardener's existence.
But what many people don't realize is that weeds are amazing, resilient plants with unique abilities to grow and colonize where most other plants simply can't.
And it's this vigorous growing ability that allows us to turn weed foliage into the best fertilizer that money can't buy. And I'll show you how. To understand why weeds make such great fertilizers, we must first understand their life strategy. More specifically, their ability to get nutrients where other plants simply cannot. Weeds are colonizers.
That is, they're the first plants to arrive on the scene after a disturbance or where no other growth currently exists. And that right there is the key to their powerhouse properties. Certain plants have the innate ability to vigorously extract nutrients at an alarming rate from what looks like nothing. Remember, weeds are just plants growing where we don't want them to grow. However, instead of simply being a nuisance, in the world of permaculture, certain species have been identified and discovered to be what's known as a dynamic accumulator.
Dynamic accumulators, also known as hyperdynamic or biodynamic accumulators, are plants, typically those with a large taproot, oh God, that can reach down, gather nutrients and elements, and store them in their leaf tissue. And it's from these plants that those nutrients can be more readily extracted and used by our traditional crop plants.
So let's gather up some weeds, and while I'm doing so, I'll throw up a list of some of the best weeds that you can use to create your very own super fertilizer right at home. Look at the taproot on that sucker. Of course it's going to pull out mega nutrients.
Now that we have a decent amount of weeds collected, let's start the process of extracting these nutrients for our crop plants by creating our very own liquid super fertilizer. The process to extract the nutrients from the foliage is simple. It's fermentation. That is, we need to soak these weeds in water for 4 to 6 weeks to be able to extract these nutrients and make our very own organic liquid fertilizer.
For this to work properly, all of the foliage has to be submerged for the duration of the fermentation. With those weeds now soaking, cover up your bucket and come back in about a month to 6 weeks.
While our weed leaves are fermenting, let's talk about what makes this such a great all-around liquid organic fertilizer.
Most chemical additives on the market focus on a rapid dose of NPK. That is your nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium.
And this is like candy to plants. A short burst of energy where very soon they're going to need more and more and more and more.
However, the nutrient profile in weed foliage is nothing short of extraordinary. Micronutrients such as boron, copper, iron, manganese, zinc, selenium, so many to list and not really readily available in chemical supplements.
So, to combat micronutrient deficiencies, you'd be hard pressed to find an easier way than making your own super solution from fermenting weeds. Now, let's go and see how that mix is doing.
After 6 weeks, You can see that the foliage is really broken down and we're left with this smelly dark liquid. Let's go ahead and strain it off to prevent our watering cans and sprayers from clogging up and talk about the dilution ratios. For dilution, I like to use my mix at about 1/4 strength. That is 1 part of this weed fertilizer and 3 parts water. Now, that's for direct watering. If you want to use this for foliar feeding, you gotta dilute further, and I go down to about 10%. So, 1 part weed fertilizer to about 9 parts water. Foliar feeding is a rapid way to enrich plants with much needed nutrition. Although we won't dive into the concept here, feeding plants through their leaves can yield astonishing results.
I always use this mix on my container plants first. The reason for that is, they are the crops that don't have access to a living soil profile the same way an open bottom raised bed would.
I'll give them a dose of this mix once a month during their life cycle, which for most crops is about 2 to 4 times over the course of their life.
Using this fertilizer strategically with proper mulching and a disciplined watering schedule, your crops will grow like you've never seen before.
Gardening can be as expensive as you want it to be.
But never feel like you have to spend a lot of money to grow the best organic, nutritious food for you and your family, because you don't.
Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed the tutorial on how I make my own killer fertilizer from just weeds that we'd normally throw away.
Another fun thing to try that won't cost you a penny is the Facebook group called Growing Better.
It's a collection of gardeners like you and I from around the world, sharing tips and strategies on how to grow the best backyard veggies.
You'll never be sold anything, and the only thing I'll ever ask is that you be polite and respectful.
Hey, thanks for watching, guys. If you're getting value in this and the other series that I'm doing on YouTube, hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons if you'd be so kind, and I'll see you in the next video.